Donald Trump was finally forced to face reporters today after staying out of sight for days. And honestly, it could not have gone worse for him. You can tell he was hoping that if he just laid low long enough, the outrage would die down. But that didn't happen at all. People are still angry, still demanding answers, and still talking about the killing of Alex Pretti. That anger followed Trump straight to the microphones, and what you're about to hear only makes things worse for him. So make sure you stick around, because his answers today may have done real damage to his image, even with parts of his own base. And if you appreciate breakdowns like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Trump took questions this afternoon, and you can almost feel the panic from his team as he keeps stepping on rake after rake. The very first question out of the gate was a reporter asking him directly whether Alex Pretti's death was justified. That's about as straightforward as it gets, and instead of answering it head-on, Trump did what he always does and tried to slide around it by promising an investigation.
Do you believe that Alex Pretti's death was justified?
Well, you know, we're doing a big investigation. I want to see the investigation. I'm going to be watching over it. I want a very honorable and honest investigation. I have to see it myself.
I don't know about you, but when Trump talks about an honorable and honest investigation, it actually makes me trust the process even less. There's just no confidence there, especially when you look at how the right has responded overall. And it doesn't help that Trump has already made it clear that Kristi Noem isn't going anywhere, no matter what comes out of this.
Is Kristi Noem going to step down?
No.
Trump does continue taking questions about ICE and Alex Pretti, but before getting to the worst of it, he takes a detour into the economy. I want to show you everything he said, because context matters. So before we get to the most damning answers about Alex Pretti, listen to Trump once again insisting that prices are magically falling everywhere.
I'd like to see interest rates go down. Everything else is going down. We have the energy and fuel going down. We have gasoline in many states now at $1.99. Groceries are going down. We inherited a mess with very, very high prices, very, very high prices. And I will tell you, we've made a lot of progress. So we have the groceries going down. We have the energy going down. We have gasoline going down at a record clip. And that's what I want to do. We're doing well.
Trump keeps trying to sell this fantasy that everything is perfect and getting cheaper by the day. But anyone who's actually been inside a grocery store lately knows that's just not true. Prices aren't falling the way he claims, no matter how many times he repeats it. But right after talking about the economy, Trump went straight back to the Alex Pretti situation. And this is where it gets especially hard to watch. He suddenly claims to be deeply saddened by what happened.
Well, I'm looking at that whole situation. I love everybody. I love all of our people. I love his family. And it's a very sad situation.
That response feels completely hollow. It sounds like something that was handed to him on a note card 5 minutes earlier. There's no sincerity there, no real acknowledgement of what happened. And it becomes even more obvious how fake it is when, almost immediately after saying this is very sad, Trump turns around and praises Kristi Noem.
I have, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget, we had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them were murderers. Many were drug dealers, drug addicts, people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history. People were flowing through by, we think, 25 million people, not to mention drugs and everything else. And that border is absolutely closed.
Kristi Noem is directly responsible for what's happening in Minnesota. So to say this situation is very sad and then immediately praise her performance is incredibly telling. It shows that Trump isn't actually troubled by what happened at all. He knows he has to pretend to care because the backlash is so strong. But deep down, this kind of hardline enforcement is exactly what he wants. And that brings us to something even bigger. Trump said something today that should seriously concern even his most loyal supporters. But before we get to that, he answered one more question and went on another long rant. This time, he claimed that crime magically drops wherever ICE shows up, especially in Minnesota, completely ignoring the fact that ICE has killed 2 people just this month.
The border is really strong. You know, if you remember, I probably got elected more than anything else on the border. We had a border that was open with 25 million people coming through with an open border policy, which was insane. And that's the policy that caused the problems that we have. With all of that being said, other than, I would say, just to put it accurately, Minnesota, and in particular Minneapolis, because it's not all of Minnesota, every city that we've gone to has been, like, literally crime has gone down 50, 60, 70, 80. In Washington, it's gone down, there's practically no crime. You know, Washington is a great example, but you take a look at other cities, Memphis, Tennessee, the crime is down 78%. And you know where else it's down? It's down in Minnesota, it's down in Minneapolis, and it's down very much because of the fact that we're there. So, and it's down very much because of the fact that we're there. So we can't lose sight of the fact that we have to take murderers and drug lords and people from mental institutions that were dumped into our country through open borders of the Democrats, of Biden, and we're doing a great job.
He's just throwing out numbers with no evidence, no sources, and no accountability. It's lie after lie, and this is supposed to be the leader of the country. But then we get to what might be the most revealing moment of the entire exchange. There's a lot of noise from the helicopter, so it's hard to hear the reporter's full question, but Trump's answer says everything. He starts talking about guns and implies that people shouldn't just be walking around with them, trying to shift blame away from ICE and onto weapons instead. That's clearly not what caused Alex Pretti's death, but it's the only excuse left for them. And the wild part is this. Trump, of all people, is now sounding like someone who wants to restrict guns. That alone should make even the most die-hard MAGA supporters stop and think about who they're really backing.
That being said, you know, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. You can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's just a very
This entire scene is unbelievable. You would think this would be the moment where more Republicans finally draw a line and speak out against Trump. But realistically, a lot of people in his base will probably brush it off, claim he was joking, or say they don't care at all. That's where things stand right now. In my view, MAGA and the modern Republican Party have crossed a point of no return. At this stage, you're either fully committed or completely out. But I want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more coverage like this.